what was the philosophy and the thought process behind like not going after the we'll call it the small size e-moto market, you going after the mid-size, which is obviously a much smaller segment? Why did you guys make that decision? I've always been interested in this answer.
You knew this market was going to change rapidly from the beginning. I'd been exposed to electric cars working with OEs at Fox and that side of the automotive business. And you could see the way that like drivetrain technologies were changing and battery technologies were changing. And so I remember this is way back when I went to Fox and I bought a Lightbee.
Yeah.
I sold like a TTR 125. This is for my wife. Sold the TTR 125, got a Lightbee. And
I've ridden that Lightbee, by the way.
Yes, you have.
Sorry, Phil's wife.
Yeah, this early gen Lightbee. And you know, like a lot of people, especially back then, these things were brand new. She liked it. She's a big mountain biker, but she's never really taken to motorcycles.
Yeah, of course.
And she liked it because it was easy to ride. And then I started riding the darn thing in the backyard and on little tracks and things like that. I'm like, this thing's so much fun, right? It's nothing like my gas bike, my KTM, but it's so much fun for what it is. But you could look at those technologies where they were at that time, and you knew that there was going to be this very rapid evolution.
Yeah.
Where they would change from what was essentially considered like a toy or, you know, used for street usage at the beginning to something that was a very legitimate motorcycle. And you just knew that had potential to happen very quickly, depending upon how the OE sort of lined up around their model planning. And so we wanted to go after the midsize market because, you know, electrification is a funny thing. It is always hampered by battery technology.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen this incredibly rapid evolution of motors, for example, and controllers and associated, you know, components in the system. But batteries just kind of march along like this every year. And so it just looked like, based on doing the math on the evolution of batteries, that the mid-size segment was the first segment where you could legitimately compete as a gas bike against a gas bike in certain scenarios, right?
Right.
And so I think we've seen that with modified Ultra Bs. I mean, I'm 5'9", and if there's like a nasty woods course, I'm unquestionably faster on a modified Ultra B than on my KTM 350.
Yeah, 100%.
Because KTM's a handful.
It's a whole job. It's a full-time job.
I've been riding it my whole life and probably never would have known it could be this much easier, except the Ultra now exists. But I mean, man, I can ride that thing fast through nasty woods.
Yeah.
And so I think it's the situation where like a modified Ultra B is no longer a toy. It is a woods weapon if you have it set up properly. 100%. And it is the sign of where this market can go from a technology standpoint. Yeah. And just look at the, what Benell's talking about with their 805 and the Dust Moto. These are like modified Ultra Bs, except better. Yeah, I would argue, because we've tuned on both of them and they're fantastic.
God, it's just so hard to listen to somebody say that about my baby, because it provides so much evidence that, people think Chinese manufacturing, right? That's what they think. Oh, it's from China, whatever. They built such a good bike, and I have beaten the holy crap out of my Ultra B, and I know many more people have beat them up a lot harder than I have. And for Dust to come in, for Benell to come in, and to start to attack that market, I was always wondering when that was going to happen, right? Like when is somebody going to step up to the king? Because even if those bikes are fantastic, it's still going to be hard to be better than the Ultra B. And I'm sure those bikes are fantastic, like especially the Dust in particular. So much time has gone into developing that bike. It's as beautiful as a Stark Bargain. I always called my Stark Bargain a piece of jewelry. Like when you go out there and see it, and you're just like, God, that thing is beautiful, But I would still walk past it every single day to get on something that was just more manageable and more fun. And my buddy is a KTM 300 rider. He came and bought another small size e-moto for his wife, and then he came back and bought one for him. And then he's like, dude, like these bikes are just, it's not that they're better. They can't do everything better for sure. That's the facts. But for what they are, and they're it's just a lower level of commitment. Like you're saying about your wife, my wife would have never got on a motorcycle. Like
Mm.
I wouldn't have got my 4-year-old daughter. I mean, I know a lot of kids ride PW50s, but I wouldn't have got her that, right? Like I just probably wouldn't have done that just because it's kind of annoying. You got to deal with it. You got to put gas in it. It's a big commitment to go out and start a gas motorcycle. But if you can just go out and flip a key and toss your leg over something, put it in a mode that's just comfortable for you and tool around the backyard, you're going to spend, and this is like my selling point to people who ride gas bikes, you will spend more time riding a motorcycle if you have an electric one, simply because of the lower level of commitment, the ability to ride in places that you can never ride before. And I really believe that that's what's happening in this market and in the moto community right now, is people are starting to wake up to the fact that, like, man, this is just so easy. And like, what do I have to do? Not much. Tighten the chain, grease your axles occasionally. Don't, low pressure when you're washing it. Like, simple stuff. Put it in your garage, take care of your battery, and you can ride it for 5 years. Like,
Yeah,
what? That's crazy.
that's true. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it sounded like I was being tough on Suron Ultra B before, and I was, and I wasn't. I think you've seen our Suron Ultra B.
Yeah,
It,
yeah.
it has been through a lot,
Yeah, I can imagine.
a lot of miles, a lot of testing. Um, that was an amazing bike. Is an amazing bike. Like, what a point in time where they made something that just completely changed the game. And I would say I personally love that bike because and as a result, I have a lot of respect for Suron Engineering
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
they made something that just, the geometry is fantastic and the durability is also really, really good. As long as you're taking modification out of the conversation, because
Right,
when
right.
people start modifying it, that things start kind of going wrong. But I have the utmost respect for them, and I hope that I hope that we see them continue to
Yeah,
up the game, right?
yeah. Me too. I'm right there with you, brother, because and I don't think you were hard on them. I think it's just, I have such an affinity for that motorcycle because it's that, if we think about, like, there's like crossroads in your life, right? That motorcycle changed my life. Like, it changed the trajectory of where I was going as a human being. And like, I will always be like just a complete loyalist to that bike. Particularly, I have a Light B that we bought 5 or 6 years ago, also the very first one,
Yeah,
and that thing is still around and it's still doing its thing and it's still running and it still hasn't had any issues. Like, yeah, we've
yeah,
broken stuff on it because we wrecked it, but like, just, and that comes from a company like, and I'm sure that they have riders that they're R&Ding with and they're developing based on like real riders and things like that. But you still got to think, like, I think a lot of times American motocross and American motorcycle riding is kind of put a little bit lower than like the European class of like riders and how they ride. But I would venture to say that, like, America, I mean, I don't know if there's anybody that's harder on bikes than Americans, and for
oh,
that bike to perform and survive, like, come on.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean that's a company of riders. I don't know if most people realize that, Suron. And all the engineers that I met from Suron are fantastic people. I must admit I know very little about what they're going to do. I don't
Yeah,
have
yeah,
any visibility around their plans. But I do think the Ultra B was this magical moment in time, and that's really what we were trying to hit at the beginning of the company. We made those products.
right.
We were trying to hit the first bikes that would, compete against gas bikes in certain categories, like something like TKO would be an
Yeah,
example.
yeah.
And we knew it needed a little bit more power, and Suron's tried to address that in 25. Um, I think the Benell and the Dust go a lot further
Hmm.
in terms of power and handling and a whole bunch of other details. I think they're really going to push the industry, and I think that's the best possible thing for customers. I can't wait. I can't wait. And as much as I think the Ultra B changed the game, I think some of these new bikes are going to change the game again. And I think everybody should be, really excited about that.